Here we go. It's happening. We're back. I'm excited. Hey, apparently it's 9:30 and my alarms are going off saying things are happening. That's so exciting. Welcome to Ask a Traffic Cop Tuesday edition with great intro music. This is the stock music that came on this thing. The Rodecaster Pro 2, it was there, and I love it. I love the device, and I love the music, and I'm leaving it. It's official now. It's the last Ask a Traffic Cop of May. I know it is only, according to my watch, the 16th of May. But it's the last one because I'm going on vacation. I am leaving the building today and not returning. I'll be back on June 5th. I don't know what you'll do without me. I'm sure you'll be just fine. But if you have questions, now is the time to ask them because, like I said, leaving on a jet plane. I know when I'll be back. We have greetings and salutations from Akela, and a zombie just popped in for a happy Tuesday, which is my Friday in this particular situation. Big Jeff Fresh. I don't know why I didn't press the buttons when they came on. Big Jeff Fresh with a good morning. There's Zombie. There's Akela Draconis. If you are watching and want to ask questions, please do. Oh, good morning. I got News Talk 1010 just coming in.
Real estate
Hello.
Simple.
Just imagine
we got commercials.
Sending our kids to school knowing they're getting the support.
I'm going to put them on mute. And if you can mute the track for the radio commercials, we'll just come back in silent. I'm just saying hello to everybody. We're going to be starting at 9:35 with Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010. Let me put Jerry's face on the screen. Oh, there's logos there. I don't know. That might affect us.
Tell Premier.
No, we still have. We're early. It's the early extra long show. Can you mute the feed? I put muter. There's muters almost. We are going to be live very shortly with News Talk 1010. That was just to get tested and going, but it looks like we're good to go. And they muted it. Fantastic. I didn't want to give you all the noise. If you want to call into the radio, no, we're good. It happened. Oh, very cool. Okay. We are, let me take that off the screen now. Too many things going on at once. We are going to be live very shortly with Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010. If you want to call into the show, 416-872-1010 or text 71010, because generally speaking, Jerry will take calls from the audience. And then we talk about stuff live. And then after we're done at close to 10 o'clock, we come back here and we continue along and do our thing. Okay. Just pulling up an email. Okay. Very cool. I opened up a website. We will do all our regular stuff and things in just a moment, but I want to make sure that we are ready to go when we go close this window. If you want to ask questions, if you're on any of the platforms, you can, except Twitter. Twitter doesn't work. You can see me, but I can't see you, at least not the questions. So if you're on Twitter, our producers will take your questions and put them into the other side of the house where I can see them. If you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, I can see you directly. If you're on Instagram, you're here. I have a separate phone for Instagram Live. And all of that happens. The only place that you can't ask questions is Twitter. But if you go to trafficcop.ca, you can actually pop over and get access to all of our links. And some great information. So trafficcop.ca is the way to go. Leo wife, my wife is in there. Good morning to you. We have Robert Niederlof from the Netherlands saying hello. Good morning. We are officially now an international episode. Very often we hear there's people from around the world who watch us. And I often wonder why, because our laws are so different. But I realize that people travel. Like I will be traveling and they come to visit us here in Ontario and they want to know what the laws are. Or they just like hearing different stuff and things, which is also cool. So thank you for joining us. If you are on the chat on TikTok, that's what that thing's called, please make sure you put a letter Q before your question, because very often we have a lot of people talking about.
Good to have you along. Every once in a while, we dip into the daily show that Sean Shapiro, traffic safety programs, traffic operations for Toronto does. I call him the TikTok traffic cop. He's at Traffic Services on TikTok, and this is one of those days. Sean Shapiro, good morning.
Good morning to you.
So you're not going to be doing the TikTok show for a few weeks. If somebody decided you should be given a vacation?
They let me do this on rare occasion, and I'm taking full advantage.
Okay, well, that's fine. Excessive speeder on Highway 400 gets his friend's vehicle impounded. If someone gets my car taken away for 14 days, how do I get it back?
You wait 14 days. It is
Gosh,
it is
wait
impounded.
a minute. If I lend Donnie my car, he just got a driver's license, and he does something stupid, I have to pay the penalty?
Well, you've chosen to give him the vehicle. What you do with the fees and who pays to get it out is between you and he. But at the end of the day, that vehicle's impounded regardless of who is driving it.
That doesn't seem right. Like, I should be able to come in and say, wait a minute, I wasn't driving. It's my car. Give me my car back. And then you put whatever penalty on the driver you want to.
It's totally separate things, but the vehicle gets impounded regardless. And I appreciate where you're coming from. In fact, rental car companies, even if you are renting the car, we will keep that vehicle in impound, and you'll have to continue renting the car and paying for the impound during the time that it's locked up.
Wow. Do you know how much it costs to rent a car these days?
I imagine it's quite expensive.
It's stupidly expensive. I mean, I used to rent cars. Sometimes I just think, it'd be convenient to rent a car for a few days and you could get really good prices and everything. And then the other day, I know I'm going on a tangent here, Sean, but I was going to go to Pittsburgh and I was worried that I might get rain or go on my motorcycle. So, okay, I'll rent a vehicle. And it was going to cost me just to do a weekend, because you got to rent it before you go and you got to take it back after, that kind of thing. It was going to cost me about $500.
Well, that's not as bad as I thought you were going to say.
Well, it was bad enough that I ended up riding in the rain on my motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm flying, and I was just talking about the cost of limo versus parking on location, and everything is just more expensive. And I don't know if it's actually more expensive, or just has gone up along with all of our cost of living.
Okay, somebody thinks this is unconstitutional because we've turned cops into judges. You're taking away my car when somebody else was driving it.
Well, you are responsible for lending your vehicle. If you lend your vehicle to someone who's unlicensed, you get charged for letting an unlicensed driver operate a vehicle. There's a lot of responsibility with your vehicle. It just like having to ensure that it's insured. You loan it to somebody, it's uninsured, they still charge the owner. So there's a lot of things that where the law is owner responsibility. And this is just one of those things where maybe loaning your car isn't a good idea in some situations. It really does impact families when, a child takes a car, gets it taken away because of stunt or impaired driving, and then mom, dad can't work. Like there are serious implications, but those should also dissuade people from doing the wrong thing.
Somebody thinks I could have Ubered to Pittsburgh for $500. That might be, well, I got to Uber back then too, If you've got a question for the traffic cop, here are the numbers: 416-872-1010, 416-872-1010, toll free 877-518-5151, 518-5151. You can text us at 71010, and of course he's on Twitter at Traffic Services, and we'll get into some of those questions in a little bit as well. But somebody writes in saying, my local transit supervisor is driving around like a cop on the phone and computer on the dash. Are they exempt?
Transit supervisor doesn't have an exemption for being on the phone. Not that I'm aware of. As far as I know, it's only police, fire, ambulance, and a select few. So they wouldn't be allowed to use it. That's something that if you felt strongly about, you could certainly call in, and they'd probably do an internal investigation.
All right. So here's a text message. Why isn't there an on-road driving test for people over the age of 80? My mom, this person writes, recently passed the written test and therefore passed. She's 91. I'm terrified she's going to kill somebody. They should be forced to do a road test.
I think, and I'm by no means a pro at this, but I believe that there's a written test at a certain age and then there's a driving test as well. But you know what? That question has been raised, and if you have concerns for safety, then maybe it's time for a discussion with mom. And regardless of what the legal, the road test or the testing system says, maybe it's time to put away the license and make that choice together. My grandfather at 94 years old got into a collision, and we had the discussion, and he said, you know what, I believe you're right. And he gave me his license, and we turned it in, and it was done. But it was a decision he made, and maybe that's the conversation that needs to happen.
Yeah, speaking ill of the dead here, but looking back on it, I think my mom should have lost her driver's license at 35. Here is Tom from North York.
Hi, good morning. There's a lot of parking lots in the States. I follow somebody on a tow trucker in Georgia, and on YouTube, and he has legal right to remove any vehicle that has invalid sticker or plate in I think it's Georgia, and I'm just wondering if we remove the sticker or have expired stickers, like everybody probably has expired stickers now, let's say 2022 on our Ontario license plate, they can legally tow us when we park in the States, whether we're staying short-term or long-term.
So I'll cut you off for a second. I don't know what the laws that empower their towing rules in Georgia or anywhere in the United States for that matter. If they have to check the validity of a plate, they should have access to our system to be able to check it. We do, and Jerry and I have talked about this a lot. If you're traveling in the States, I would suggest removing any expired stickers so that no one goes based on the sticker alone and is forced to then check it. Many states have systems where you have to look it up. New York, I don't think issues stickers anymore. In any case, if their laws allow for it and you're expired, then I would expect to be towed. Our laws here are very different in terms of empowering third parties to tow without authority. You'd have to have a police officer here involved, or at the very least a parking enforcement officer.
Well, the problem is there that in the States they don't even check Florida stickers or plates or visiting from Texas or whatever. They don't have access to.
And I don't know whether they do or don't. I would suggest that becomes a civil matter at that point based on their laws, and you'd be able to argue there. But well outside of what I can tell you about.
Yeah, I worry about being pulled over by police when I'm in the United States because they are not going to know that we have this sticker thing. I've got my paperwork that I'm up to date. I've got an article about the change that we don't have the stickers, and I'm hoping if I ever get pulled over, I can pull all that stuff out and show it to the cop and hope he just goes, I don't know where you're living, but okay, whatever.
I think it's less of an issue if you're traveling with no sticker. I think the problem is that you give them a red herring. You show them a 2012 sticker or whatever you've got on there that's expired, and then try and explain that you don't need stickers. And you just create an unnecessary conversation. I would remove any history or any sticker that's on your plate now that we don't need them, and just make sure that your plate is actually renewed, because if it's not and they do have access to check, expect to get a ticket.
Here is Trevor from Scarborough.
Hey guys, my question is this: when the police pull us over for tickets and they're putting that information in that database in their cars, what actually goes into that, and how long does it stay for, and can we actually access that information at some point in the future?
So it depends on what we're talking about. If you're saying I pull you over and I give you a warning, our warnings get generated and they basically live in our database forever. We're going to know that we gave you a warning for running a red light or using your phone or whatever the case may be. If we generate a ticket, the ticket is going to get issued, go through the court system, and it's either going to be a conviction registered on your license or it's going to be dismissed, so we'll never get to your actual license with the MTO. But our record of it will exist essentially forever. We have to keep information, and for good reason. Now, when you talk about access to it, there's access through Freedom of Information Act, and you can make applications to information, but it's not something you can just walk in and say, hey, I want to see my stuff.
Hey, we'll take some more calls coming up in a moment, but I don't want to be in the middle of your answer to somebody because we have less than a minute here. But somebody writes in, can something be done about concrete companies leaving blobs of concrete all over? You have to dodge them, these blobs all over the road. I have a problem with that.
Oh, certainly. It's a hazard. And if they're dropping that all over the place, it's because they have an insecure load or not properly contained. Like they're overfilling their vehicles, and they can be held responsible for it, but we got to see who's doing it. So, if any vehicle is dropping anything, it's because they're not properly securing their loads, and there are charges for that. And I used to pull vehicles over on a regular basis for those issues. The biggest problem is that it has to be seen. And, we find a blob, there's no DNA in that blob.
There's no DNA. Yeah.
No truck DNA.
Yeah, all right. We'll continue and take your calls at 416-872-1010, 877-518-5151, and check on some TikTok questions next in the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
I'm going to throw them into a mute situation just in case the commercials came up. For News Talk Control, if you can let me know when you're coming back, give me a 30-second warning. I would really appreciate it. But in the meantime, let's talk amongst ourselves. David Stark sent a joke, it looks like. Okay, so we're a little early for dad jokes, but I'll put it up on the screen regardless because it's David and he can be funny. Hey, traffic cop, why don't police officers ever get lost? Because they always have a compassionate heart. It's a You can do better. I believe in you. I do have some jokes to read later. We have, so Robert, who we were speaking with earlier, who's currently in the Netherlands, is actually, he lives in Toronto, but he's Dutch and he's currently on a family visit in Holland. I've been to Holland. I'm going through some things. I found my clogs. These are called clogs. They have my name in it. Yeah. I went on a tour a long time ago, and I still have the stuff from my trip. Which brings me to a question. Do people generally buy, every time they go somewhere, souvenirs from everywhere they go? And what do you do with those? Because I have souvenirs from many, many trips. I was fortunate to travel, and I have all this stuff, and I'm like, what do I do with plates from a cruise ship in 19 whatever? So, yeah, I'm trying to decide. Do I donate? Do I keep? Should these be forever packed away and show my grandchildren at some point? Having a quick look to acknowledge some of the people we have here on TikTok. We have Robert, Robert's on both platforms. Okay. We have Waveny Adams. We have Mike and Diving Artsby. Let's see here. We have questions about getting into the Ontario Police College. So we're going to talk about employment at 10 o'clock. Once we're off air with Jerry, we'll talk about becoming a member of the police service. But good to have you at the show. Neha says, good morning. Good morning. I was watching one of your videos this morning, as a matter of fact, Neha. So we follow each other. Trevor Gamash, I don't know how I pronounce it. Good morning to you. Okay. Mike Foley, Renee, we got lots of folks. Good morning. If you're watching, please like, subscribe, follow us wherever you are, whatever platform you're using. Please, hit the buttons and make it happen. We want to tell as many people as we can that we're here and that we're talking and stuff and things are going on. We're all about you. This is a show that is for you to answer your traffic and police questions so we can give you all the information about being safe and living a ticket-free life. Because if you know what the laws are and you understand them, there's less likelihood that you're going to get caught not knowing. And that's what the excuses I used to hear all the time. Well, I didn't know, officer. Well, that doesn't make you innocent. It just means you didn't know. Or you say you didn't know. Well, here's the opportunity to truly know and be fun at parties. I'm always accused of being the fun guy at parties, mostly by people who are being less than serious when they say that. But you know what? I am fun at parties because I do a live Ask a Traffic Cop at the corner of wherever I am. I don't go to very many parties anymore. I'm a dad. I'm at home partying at home with my fam. Okay. Dale and Cold Laker, lots of people jumping in. Okay, we are going to be back very shortly with Jerry. We're going to finish our segment, the second segment, and then we're going to continue right until 11 o'clock answering your traffic and police questions. And I got to tell you, this is the last episode until June 5th because I'm going on vacation. Today is the last day. I take off tomorrow. I'm gone. Gone. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's very exciting. When I don't vacation or take a lot of breaks, but when I do, I try and have the most fun. We have here Sharouk. I don't know. Hi from Toronto. Hello. Kenny F. My M2 is expiring next month. What are my options? We'll talk about motorcycles. Actually, we'll talk about that with Jerry when we're back. Chase wants to know, is TPS going to the Indy? I have every intention to be at the Indy with a booth this year. We did it last year. We had a lot of fun. We got to meet a lot of you guys, a lot of the folks that follow us, and that was awesome. So we want to do that again. And I just haven't had anything confirmed yet. But Honda Indy is on the calendar as a plan to do situation. Okay, what do we got here? Slim says hi. Did I say? Dale Furlong. Let's see here. Wants to know about texting and driving and what happens if. Okay. Great work. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Can you drive with a foreign license in Canada? We'll talk about that. Actually, these are great ones for when we come back from break. Is it possible?
And I'm with Sean Shapiro, the TikTok traffic cop at Traffic Services on TikTok. He answers your questions every day. Just a warning, though, he's going on vacation. So this is the last show for May, but he'll be back at it. And we dip in about once a month or every few weeks?
Every 2 weeks usually.
Yeah, and answer questions. And here's a good one from Jim from London. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know whether he can answer this, but my car is insured. Does that cover every licensed driver that drives it?
So, although this is a question for your insurance company, generally speaking, if your vehicle is insured, you can loan it to anyone who is a licensed driver with that class of license. There are some conditions, though. If you have a child living with you or a person living with you, your insurance company may not want them driving unless they're listed as an occasional driver, and that's between you and them. In the event of a collision, are they insured? Yes. Could your insurance company deny a claim? Also, yes. If they may put conditions like nobody under 25, or let's say your cousin Doug from Idaho is not a good driver. They say he's specifically named as someone who can't drive the car. But again, these are all civil matters. And as to a police officer pulling over that person, we're going to see a license, we're going to see proof of insurance, and that's good for us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Here's an interesting text question. This person writes, I drive a Tesla. We have a veteran's license plate, which is blue. We can't get a green vanity plate. Am I still legally allowed to drive in the HOV lane as the only driver? Is that something that Teslas and EV drivers can do?
First of all, thank you for your service. And secondly, you are out of luck. If you do not have a green plate, you cannot access that lane. It is the green plate that gives you the authority to use a HOV lane as a solo occupant or a solo driver. And if you have if you have any other plate, whether it has if it's not green, essentially, you're out of luck. And that's because they change the requirements, or may continue to change the requirements at restricting who can get those plates. But
so here's what I'm curious about. Is he talking about being a single driver in the HOV lane because he's a veteran, or because he's driving a Tesla?
Tesla. So an electric vehicle allows you to get green plates, and those, as well as a hydrogen vehicle and a couple of other systems, plug-in electric as well, or plug-in hybrid. They can use a HOV lane solo because of the fact that they qualify for green plates. But as soon as you take those plates off and get custom plates or a veteran's plate in this situation, you lose that access to the lane.
Okay. You uphold the law, you don't make it. So I'm making a comment on other people here, not you. God save us from the people who decide that we're going to give special privileges to the people who don't even pay taxes on the road, which are the EV drivers. Okay, that's my commentary. Here's Arthur from Vaughan.
Yes, I have a friend. She is a victim of intimate partner violence. She is wondering if she is able to register her vehicle and driver's license at her workplace or a friend's place. Her ex-partner has contacted the ministry, and previous addresses have been found because of his contact with the ministry. Is that allowed?
So I've heard of many people doing that, and what we want people to do is that you should be putting your actual address, your actual place. And I understand the security concerns. If they're involved with a police investigation, or it's best for them to go and have a conversation with their local police service or their local police division and get some guidance there. In terms of what we generally want people to do is to put their actual address where they can be reached, because when we as the police are looking for them for emergency reasons, we're going to go to that address. And if they put their workplace, we're going to not find them. So it can cause complications even if we're trying to help them.
Okay.
But again, I would talk to their investigator or to a local police division.
Thanks, Arthur. I appreciate your call. Yeah, hey, we have a question that got sent in from News Talk 1010's morning host, John Moore. Somebody stole his license plate, and he just got a ticket on the stolen license plate. Is he responsible for that?
Well, we actually spoke about this when it happened. He put in a report, and when he put that report in as the plate's being stolen, that information would get circulated to places like 407, and it would be on file. So he wouldn't be responsible if the report went in as lost, stolen, and they'd been replaced. But it's important that the ministry knows that that's happened, and they're the ones that issued him the new plates. So it looks like it's likely an error, but I would bring it up with the ministry and or the police service that issued them.
All right. If the offense happened after he reported it stolen, he's not responsible.
Exactly.
All right. Here is Michael from Aurora.
Hi, how are you today?
We're well. Go ahead.
My question is, I've just bought a trailer. It's dual axle, and I have a 2500 GMC, and they're telling me that I don't really need a CV sticker, the yellow sticker.
The device.
Because I'm I have my own 10-acre farm, and I'm using the trailer to take my tractor back and forth to the maintenance shop.
I'm going to stop you just because I'm not a farm aficionado. I don't know. There are some exemptions for farm vehicles. There's some exemptions for various things, and I'm just not the right guy to ask on that. I do have access to a farmer, and I can look into that. If you want to email me offline, I am happy to look into it for you.
Oh, can I say something quick to you here, Michael?
Yeah, sure.
I'm from Manitoba.
Yeah.
Do you know what we call a 10-acre farm? The suburbs.
Roger that.
Okay. Thanks very much. Here is Paul from London.
Morning, guys.
Hi.
So I'm at an intersection and I'm turning right, and beside me is a bike lane. We have these green bike lanes, and a car pulls up in the bike lane as I'm turning right, and I almost hit him. One, who would be at fault in that instance? And that can't be legal for the car to be in the bike lane.
There's a lot of confusion about bike lanes, and some people just don't know what to do. And that's not an excuse, but it is a sad state of affairs. It really depends on what we're talking about. If there's a bike lane that has hash marks, that is where a car is supposed to enter it to make the turn. It depends on the design of that particular lane. If you're talking about somewhere that is absolutely protected and they have no business being there, well, two things are true. One, they shouldn't be there and they can be charged for that, but you also need to be sure that your turn is being done in safety. You still are responsible for not creating that collision by turning into them. So you may also be responsible to some degree, depending on the situation. There's no perfect answer. Generally speaking, we are looking at all of the offenses when we investigate a collision, and we essentially note what we saw or what we found out. At the end of the day, it's going to be the courts and or the insurance companies that will determine fault, regardless of what we say. They may say that 100% of fault is one driver. They may share it, and it's going to be them who fight out amongst themselves as to how much fault they attribute to each driver.
All right, Paul, thanks for that call. I'll ask you about something that came up for me. I told you I was riding in the rain. I was coming home in the rain on a Sunday afternoon, and I was frustrated because I was cold and I was wet, and the traffic on the QEW was just stupidly slow. And I was really, really, really tempted, Sean, to white line the thing, to take my motorcycle, and the traffic was so slow, go between the lines. But that's not legal in Ontario, is it?
It's not. And even where it is legal, like you look at California, they will say very openly that it's dangerous. Legal, but dangerous, and they suggest extreme caution. It creates all sorts of issues. In Ontario in particular, it could be careless driving, could be stunt driving, could be even criminal dangerous driving, depending on what we see. So if we see someone who's, tootling through slowly, it could just be something careless driving. If they're going much faster than the traffic, stunt, and if it's extreme, obviously we could go criminal. It's simply dangerous behavior. And, we see it all the time. In fact, over the weekend, I watched multiple motorcycles on the highway, no license plates, doing just that, racing between cars. And if you paid attention to some of the other drivers on the road, that puts you at a great risk, not just as the driver, in traffic, but as the motorcyclist. We see people who are on their phones weaving in and out of their own lanes because they're not paying attention. People who are just making erratic maneuvers without checking, and that rider could become a victim. But the rider's putting people at great risk. They're essentially a bullet moving through traffic.
Well, the reason I don't do it for two reasons. One is because it's illegal, and the other is because I don't trust the drivers.
You got to be that way, 100%.
All right. Have a nice vacation, Sean.
Thank you very much. See you when we're back.
Yep, this is the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And we'll fade out to the News Talk folks and say goodbye. And I'll change my graphics as I give you my walking through verbally what I'm doing. We're back, and it's just us. And you know what? I love it when we connect with Jerry. We've been doing this for a long time now. It's been a staple or a regular part of my routine. I like routine. Routine's good. And he's a great guy. Okay, let's have a look at what's going on here. If you're new, if you just jumped in, welcome. Hello. Hope you're doing well. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day. And I say every single day because even when I'm not at work, I'm talking about it in one way, shape, or form. Now, I have a bunch of people who have jumped in. Jacob says hello. We've got Chase, who's got some questions. We'll pop back to that in a second. Official Sheriff Law on TikTok, who says, good morning, Sean. Good morning to you. We've never chatted. I want to know more. Okay. Kayla, in reference to my whole discussion about teaching people so they know and then they don't break laws or don't get caught breaking laws because it wasn't by accident. I don't say accident very often. So by accident, they had an oopsie-doo. Well, if you know what the rules are, maybe you won't do that. But he said, if ignorance is bliss and ignorance of the law is no excuse, does that mean that many agents of chaos are blissful? Agents of chaos is what KLS calls people who violate traffic laws. I don't know. I don't have a good excuse for people who break the law. I think there's some really misguided folks who seem to think the law is not important or traffic safety doesn't matter. Because I get a lot of comments that say, why aren't you out there doing something important like going after violent criminals? And I love coming back to this because that belief that violent crime is the real concern, and it is a concern, don't get me wrong, but when we look at our homicide rates compared to our traffic fatalities, they're usually neck and neck. They up and down they go. And you never know who's going to win the game of losing, sadly. But it is very interesting because what we find most often, and it's a personal observation, is very often the folks that are involved in violent crime tend to be involved in a lifestyle. And that's not saying all. I'm not victim blaming. I'm just saying that as an observation, there tends to be a lot of people who tend to get killed involved in crime. It's not everybody. There are obviously some absolutely innocent people who lose their life, and it's tragic. It's tragic for any loss of life. But the people who are driving around and are killed by the actions of another person, an impaired driver, a distracted driver, someone who chose to speed, someone who chose to drive aggressively, a choice, and they kill someone who's a complete innocent bystander, that is it's so much worse than someone who happened to be involved in some level of crime and things didn't go the way they planned. I know I'm overly generalizing, but for people to say that traffic fatalities don't matter drive me bananas, because all lives matter when it comes to these horrible, horrible situations where people lose their lives unnecessarily. Because we talk about Vision Zero, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Vision Zero is a concept that suggests that we should be aiming for zero fatalities and zero serious injuries on our roads. It's a good concept. And we know that speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving are the leaders of injuries and deaths on a road. So one of the acknowledgments that we make as Vision Zero is that minor collisions are going to happen. We're never going to get rid of all of them. But at very least, we can reduce the ones, if not eliminate the ones, that lead to serious injury and death. And that's why the Vision Zero enforcement team actively look for folks who choose to engage in speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. There's a whole concept here, right? It makes sense. Today, they are in 52 Division and 33 Division. Did I say that right? I did. 52 Division and 33 Division, which means very little to most people. But those are the police divisions that service areas like Kensington, Chinatown, Bay Street Corridor, Park Woods, Donalda, Bayview Village, York Mills. I say it all the time. It's where real people live, work, and play, and they deserve to be safe. They do. If it was your neighborhood, you'd want us there. And that's why we announce every day on Twitter where we're going to be. We also announce it on Facebook and Instagram and now LinkedIn. And we want to let people know. And we're not letting people know so they can drive nicely in those neighborhoods. We're letting people who live there know that we're there for them, that we're spending more time to make their community safer. And I know that they appreciate it because I get all sorts of feedback that's positive. Now, could someone choose to deep dive and figure out where to avoid police presence? Well, good luck, because we don't actually go to a particular intersection and fly a flag saying we're there. We focus on behavior in and around those neighborhoods. And I've listed a number of the hashtagable, popular, notable communities and neighborhoods, but there's many more, and we're anywhere inside the geographic location or divisional boundary. So we're not telling people where we are. We're giving people who live there a heads up that we care. Now, I want to talk about, so earlier we were asked about becoming members of the police. It was one of the questions that came up when I was on the air with Jerry, and I said that I would talk about it. So I'm going to talk about it right now. And then we're going to get back into questions. So if you've got questions, please ask them, because I will not be here for 2 weeks, and I want to get as many questions as I possibly can. Also, Sergeant Murray Campbell is rumored to be joining very shortly, and when he does, he will be here. But if you have got questions that deal with more off-roady vehicles, he's the guy. He's the guy who knows that stuff. He's a snowmobiler. He's a four-wheeler. He's an everything off-road person that I am not. But, okay, starting here, we're going to talk about careers with the Toronto Police Service. Because we're always hiring. We're looking for good people who want to serve their communities and make a difference in the world. I know it sounds crazy, right? No, we do good work, and we need more people who want to serve their communities. Police Constable, and that's what I am. I wasn't always. I started as an auxiliary officer. I then became a court officer, which was a special constable role. Now we have something called a special constable, I think, generalist. Is that what it's called? We'll go back and look at it. But effectively, they do far more than they did when I was a member of that unit. So how to become a member? Well, you can apply online. You need to be 18 years old, citizen, or permanent resident, and you have to be able to meet the physical and requirements of the job. And there's more information here. The information that I'm looking at can be reached by going to tps.ca. I'm going to scroll down here, and I have a linkity link here. We'll put it on screen. tps.ca/careers. You know how you can also get this? By going over to trafficcop.ca. I've got links to all of these in one easy-to-find place. We do work shifts. There's all sorts of things, lots of information here, but I want to bring you to something that I shouldn't. I always question whether or not I should bring it up, and it's because people ask, but not because it's the most important thing. Salary. Now, a couple of things have changed, really one in particular, and that is if you were hired last year, you had to pay $15,000 out of pocket to go to school, to become a police officer, the Ontario Police College. But there was just an announcement that the provincial government is going to absorb that cost as of this year. Even if you already graduated in January, they're going to pay you back. But that means a $15,000 essentially signing bonus. That's how I look at it. You're not getting it in cash, but you don't have to pay. I had to take a loan, and I had to pay out of every paycheck a couple $100 until it was paid off. Good for you. You don't have to do that. And you get paid as a cadet in training $67,680 a year. That's amazing. How many jobs pay you to learn? Well, this one does. Now, it's obviously a competitive job process, and the best candidates are the ones who are going to get it, but this is important information. When you graduate, $75,000, and as you continue without issues, and eventually after 4 years or so, become a first-class constable, $107,456. Of course, we also have other things that are magical and make us a great employer, but that's not the reason to become a cop, but it is a definite benefit. We're looking for experienced officers, a lateral hire, special constable and parking enforcement officer, communications operators, and then there's the civilian roles. Our service could not do anything if not for the fact that we have magical people who help us. We have communications operators. We have the people who are accounting and human resources, like our computer services, our telecom. There's just so many people. And thank you to everyone who's watching that works for us already. You don't get enough credit for the work you do. You make it possible for us to do what we do. Thank you to our civilians. And if you are not someone who wants to be a police officer or a uniform member of our service, here's a great opportunity to still work for a great organization, but do it in a different way. Financial strategies and projects advisor, manager employee services, project leader, facilities management, warehouse clerk, disclosure clerk, senior analyst for Azure. I don't know what that is. Senior programmer, human capital management, solutions architect, and communications operator. All fantastic opportunities if you're interested. I will tell you this, these jobs do not stay posted for long. If you are at all interested in becoming a member and applying for one of those positions, then I would strongly suggest taking action. Go and apply while the application is open, because they're only open for a short time, and then they go away, and then you have to wait for another one. Hello, Sarge. Hello. We're waiting for you. You are. We totally. Totally. Okay. Sergeant Campbell is joining us, and this is a good segue into the 50-50, not the 50-50. I don't know why it says 50-50. It says bump 50-50 e-commerce, but that is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is right here. We're talking about the Special Olympics raffle, which is raising money for Special Olympics by way of selling tickets that allow you the opportunity to win a 2022 Harley-Davidson Touring Street Glide. 1 ticket for $20, 3 tickets for $50, 8 tickets for $100, which is the best deal. And then you can get that by going to, where can you go? You can go to trafficcop.ca for a link, or you can go to harleyraffle.ca. And that's important because we support that charity. We like them.
We support it so much that we have bought tickets ourselves.
Well, we not only because we want to support them, but because we both want to win a new motorcycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because who wouldn't want to win a new motorcycle? I mean, really. All right, let's have a look. We have, Stephen Bell, good morning. And we have official little sheriff.
Stephen Bell, happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. It was my birthday. It was your birthday? One sec, we'll go back to official. So yesterday was his birthday. Today is Nerd Dad's birthday, that Nerd Dad. We have lots of birthdays. If you have birthdays, by all means, let us know so we can shout out and wish you happy birthday. So happy belated birthday, Stephen. I don't think we saw you yesterday. Were you too busy partying? What happened?
Too much birthday cake.
Too much birthday cake.
Yeah. Sugar rush.
Do you like the icing? I'm not an icing person.
No, neither am I. No.
Some fillings, but I'm not a big icing person.
Carrot cake.
I like carrot. Have you had the carrot muffin at a particular coffee shop?
I might have had one of those yesterday.
That's good. I like carrot cake. Let's see here. So Robert Nederloff is currently in Holland visiting family. And I didn't realize that he was from Toronto originally, but he's from Toronto visiting family there. And I asked about, why does he want to watch? Why do people from overseas or around the world watch the show? But he says, I love it when people have opinions and comments about something they literally have zero experience or knowledge about. And I think that is a very, very interesting. I think a lot of people like just the dynamics of the questions. I think it's interesting.
We don't get to see all the comments.
We don't.
We have a couple of moderators, Connor and Dave, that are working really, really hard to try and keep questions appropriate and, nice and good for everybody. So a shout out to them for doing such a good job.
Yes. Again, thank you for everyone who makes it possible. We were talking about civilians. We've got police and civilian that support us. It's awesome stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a question from official little sheriff law on TikTok. Someone asked me, is it legal to drive at the age of 14? That's going to depend on where you are, because if you're in Alberta, you can actually apply for a learner's permit at 14.
Wow.
But if you have a learner's permit in Alberta at 14, you cannot drive in Ontario until you're 16. The minimum age in our province is 16, regardless of whatever license you have anywhere else.
I don't think I was mature enough at 14. I was just barely mature enough at 16, I think.
I was go-karting and off-road riding and doing all sorts of stuff, but on the road, I don't know. No, I wasn't, but I don't think I would have been a good candidate. It's interesting. In that community where there's a lot of farming, people are driving tractors. They're exposed to things differently. Here in Ontario, we're seeing people that are in their 40s that don't get their license.
Yep.
Totally
absolutely.
different environment.
No, I grew up doing that, driving a farm truck, summer jobs, doing fencing, dirt bike. I think I bought my first dirt bike when I was 8. I had to get a paper route.
I wanted a mini bike. I still want a mini bike. I've always wanted a mini bike.
I wish I'd kept it because actually it's a classic now.
The Honda?
The Honda Honda CT70.
70?
Yeah. Didn't have a gas tank yet to lift the seat up to put the gas in it.
I have to look it up. I have to see a picture. But was that the one with the sort of the not ape hangers, but banana seat kind of looking?
Yep, and the handlebars, you could bring the handlebars down so it lifted up and put it in the trunk.
I almost bought a used one repeatedly. Like I kept looking at them and then didn't buy them. But I had nowhere to ride them. What didn't make sense. Okay, let's see. We have Zombie wants to know if you can host every day for the next 2 weeks because they believe they support you.
Thanks very much.
So Robert wants to know if he's allowed to use his Dutch driver's license as a temporary Canadian. So you were saying you live in Toronto.
How do you become a temporary Canadian?
That's a good question. But if you are visiting Toronto, because you said you live in Toronto, but as a resident of Ontario, your Dutch license is not valid after 60 days. Once you become a resident, you need to apply within 60 days for an Ontario license. So if you have a full license in, from back home, then you can likely transfer that here. But you'd need to apply to do that paperwork at Services Ontario. And in fact, if you go to trafficcop.ca, there's information and one of the links in the bottom, useful links. It'll tell you all about how to do that. Official little sheriff has a cousin that's ranked sergeant major. Where would that be? Would that be is there a sergeant major rank with the RCMP? Certainly not with the Toronto Police. We don't have that rank. Maybe it's military?
I believe from the ceremonial unit. Isn't there a sergeant major there?
That's a ceremonial. I don't know if there's a sergeant major there.
I don't know.
Good morning, Sean, from Richard. Richard, thank you. Richard is a bus driver from north of here. North of here? I think north of here. Let's
Good
see.
morning, Richard. Thanks for saying hi. Maybe he did it earlier. Before I got here.
Let's see. When did he do it? I think he did. That was at 10:08. We're a little behind. Big Jeff Fresh, we were talking about employment and to not have to pay a $15,000 loan on a $67,000 salary is a 20% raise. We're just discussing the fact that's awesome. It wasn't that expensive when I got on, and it was even less expensive for you.
Yeah, mine was 0 as well. So
things come full circle. We got a morning sergeant and a thanks from Stephen for his birthday wishes. And, here's another birthday. The Grinch's birthday today? Really? What is it with today and birthdays?
Wow,
3 people.
happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday indeed. Okay, scrolling back. We have, and he did say, good morning, Sergeant Campbell. That was
There we
Richard.
go.
See, you were on it. And he said, good morning to me too. CJDC is a little confused about the OACP certificate. Since it's required to apply, could you touch on the process of obtaining one? I have to look up to see what the new standards are, because when I applied, you had to have an OACP certificate, which included a physical, and I think now physical testing may be downloaded to the police services. I don't know.
Depending on the police service, I believe they might do their own physical testing as well. The OACP certificate, depending on what you're applying for, has different levels.
Okay.
And you apply for the job or the posting, and it gives you the minimum. And tells the police service that you've actually, studied for this, and you're a suitable candidate to apply. Whether they use that certificate as your qualifications or they retest you again, depends on the police service.
I'm going to talk to some recruiters and maybe we can get some updated information, because I'd like to have the newest and best and most accurate information to share with everybody. I would suggest, however, CJDC, that you go online to tps.ca/careers and read up there for all the information, and then contact a recruiter. They're there to help. They want to answer your questions. That's what they do. That's their thing. Okay. Let's see here. We have, and the Sergeant Major is a Saskatchewan service rank somewhere.
Oh, wow.
So, okay. A question from Sebastian. Can I modify my Honda Civic exhaust?
Yes.
And no.
And no. Depends what you want to do.
It depends. The big thing is, if you're modifying it and it's still legal once modified, then okay. If you're modifying it and like removing stuff that's required to be there, then no. It depends.
Depends what you're doing with it. I modified mine. I had an old VA pickup truck, and instead of putting catback dual exhaust on it, I actually put true duals on it. But I had to go out and buy 2 separate catalytic converters and everything associated with it to ensure that the emission controls were still working. But then again, I had full dual exhaust, and it was totally legal.
There you go. I was so impressed by the size of a mini Jeep. What is this? Tinto Tozi, who is in Montreal. I was so impressed with the size of a mini Jeep some 5-year-olds were driving on the Boulevard bike lane. It was huge. There are some mini Jeeps that I've seen that are gas-powered, multi-gear. They're motor vehicles. Those are go-karts, and big ones at that. And people are illegally using them in suburban life, suburbs. That's it. Yeah, not okay. They're for off-road only, and I've seen TikToks of people driving them around the neighborhoods. They're pretty cool. I would buy one. Someone apparently picked one up for like $500 on clearance, and it's like a number of thousands of dollars of value that was on clearance, and I think it was a mistake. But I would have bought it.
Just because it's cool?
It's very cool.
Yeah, I like cool things.
Yeah. This would be right up your alley. I'll try and find the video. Shab says, hey, I took my G2 last year. However, I took my G1 in June 2018, and now my G2 expires in June. So, it's 5 years. It expires. So you...
No, he took his G2 last year. So it has nothing to do with your G1. As long as your G1 was valid when you got your G2 is good for for 5 years from
Well,
the date
it's a
that you get
total.
it.
It's a total of 5 years. So you would have to renew because you have to complete everything within 5 years. If your G2 is coming up with less than a year, they usually extend it for 5 years, but they charge you again. So you need to go talk to Drive Test and Service Ontario and see how that goes. Because if you had more than a year left on your G2, they likely would not have charged you anything extra to extend. So there are ways of dealing with this. I've heard of people who get their G2 right at the end and their renewal kicks in, they pay again and they get an extra 5 years. So
I guess that's a way around it. Yeah,
and you can test again. Like if you had your G2 for 4 years and then you were about to expire, you can take your G2 again and get another 5 years. That's the whole reason to get your G, so you never have to do another test until some point in the future. Tim Shallow says, "Good morning, Sean and Sarge." Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay. Can my dad get a front plate ticket if he is from Alberta and comes here? So it was actually an interesting thing, and Chase, I believe, pulled this up, and there he is. He's got it up there again. So we've often said that it's a requirement here, and although you could get a ticket, you wouldn't get a ticket because we would employ discretion. But the truth is, according to Section 15 sub 1 of the HDA, there's an exemption for out-of-plate drivers.
Out-of-plate drivers?
Out of province drivers who have they ran out of plates.
So some jurisdictions will actually issue you a front plate if you are traveling to a province or a state that requires it.
Yes.
New Brunswick, you can pay extra and get a front plate.
That's interesting, and that's a whole different level. So then, yeah, I like it. I like finding out these little things. Automotive addiction, you're back. Can you test drive an unplated car, maybe a block or something? So no. If it's an unplated vehicle, you cannot drive it. That's why dealerships have plates that go into those bags at the back of the trunk so they can drive it around. If you are driving an unplated vehicle, it is not legal for the road. It also has to be insured, and generally speaking, unplated vehicles are not insured for the road. So no. On private property, yes. On the street, absolutely not. Let's see here. Fried soup. Can you get a ticket for running a stop sign on private property? Fried soup. I want to know more about your username. How do you fry soup? So the deal is that it is not an enforceable ticket on private property for running the stop sign. If that running the stop sign was so dangerous that you were putting people's lives at risk, could you be arrested for running a stop sign as part of a dangerous driving charge? Or if you were drifting through the stop sign? No, the charge for running a stop sign isn't applicable.
Under the HDA.
Under the HDA.
But
there are bylaws for TTC and Metrolinx, and there could be others for elsewhere.
Yep, for other properties, government properties, they may have their own laws that apply there. Go into provincial parks, go into city parks, stuff like that. You could find yourself getting a ticket for it. Wouldn't be under the Highway Traffic Act, but it'd be under the specific law that covers that property.
If it exists, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, host, what are the requirements to become a police officer? Why are the standards or requirements to become a police officer getting lowered? In truth, they're not being lowered. It has always been a grade 12 education as a minimum, and then...
For us anyways.
Well,
not all jurisdictions.
My understanding was they were about to increase the rules, and they said that they're removing, but they never actually put it. It was on the books to be added to say university degree, and they chose not to. And I think that's where the confusion is. It's possible that individual organizations have said, and we even for a period of time had university as a requirement, or if you could prove equivalent, but it was really being pushed for university. And they're just not doing that now.
You know what? There's book smarts, there's street smarts, and there's common sense. And you need to have all three of them. So getting a university degree to come work as a police officer is not the end-all, be-all of everything. I do not have one, but I do have a college diploma, and I did pretty well.
Yeah, it does. The piece of paper doesn't make you magically better. In fact, I know a lot of people who have fantastic university status. They have master's degrees or better, and they can't tie their shoes. So they're very nice people who have lots of book smarts, they don't necessarily have the ability, in my opinion, to be a good police officer. So, but everything is individual. At the end of the day, by having a standard of OSSD, Ontario Secondary School Diploma or equivalent, and then everything else is competitive. If there's 5 spots and everybody has a university degree, well, so be it. And if there's 5 spots but 10 applicants and 5 of them have university degrees and 5 of them don't, well, chances are the university degree is going to win out in a competition, because it is a competition.
And you know what? Getting a university degree actually shows your drive, your stamina, your ability to abide by the rules. So you've spent at least 5 years or 4 years in university. Mm-hmm. You've done all the requirements for it. They've given you tests. You've passed those tests because you've studied, you've worked hard at it. And that shows, quite honestly, what you're made of. That you're willing to do it, that you're willing to try, because there's a goal in mind and you want to achieve it. So, you know what? It does show perseverance. So
we are actually a job, a career that is filled with constant learning. You can't walk 5 feet in this office without being reminded there's a course to be done, or there's a or an annual requalification. And this isn't a job where you just get qualified and you're done. You are constantly learning, and showing a commitment to learning and a capability to continuously learn is really good. So whether you are, in my opinion, learning other languages or you have hobbies that develop learning, anything that shows an ability to learn and develop is good. But yeah. Now, Robert has a question. I'm a student in Toronto and will be living there for 4 years until I finish the program. Okay, so a foreign student in Ontario is a resident, so you have to get a local license. This is a follow-up to the question earlier about can I drive with a Dutch license. You have to get an Ontario license within 60 days of being a resident here. You'd need to apply, and then you would be able to actually, in most cases, get a straight trade, depending on whether they credit you and accept it. Otherwise, you may have to start as a G1 driver. So it depends, but.
And you know what? It's not a straight trade. They give you the equivalency for it to get an Ontario driver's license. You don't have to give up your Dutch driver's license when you come over here. So when you return to the Netherlands and go back and are driving over there, you can retain your original driver's license over there. Now, if you're in Ontario and you get your Ontario driver's license suspended, you cannot use the driver's license of a different jurisdiction to continue driving.
And be very careful. A lot of people come here with the belief, and I'm certainly not making an accusation, but I've pulled people over who are driving with licenses from around the world, and they've been living here for years, and they just choose not to do it. Their license is invalid. They get charged for not having a license. Their insurance can be invalidated and not covered. Like there's all sorts of negative situations. Don't do it. Yeah, don't take that risk. Hippie Life wants to know what the current laws surrounding gas-powered bicycles in Ontario are. So it's an interesting conversation, because when is a bicycle not a bicycle? How about when it's got a motorcycle engine or a motor on it? It's a motor vehicle. And does it qualify as a motorcycle? It's an UNVIN. It's a vehicle that doesn't meet the standards for Transport Canada to get a VIN number or a VIN assigned to it. So you can't plate it. You can't license it. It's a moped without a VIN.
Yep, or a motorcycle, depending on the design of it. It's a homemade one. They're absolutely not allowed on the roadways in Ontario. Absolutely not allowed.
And they don't have necessarily sufficient. You now have something that's capable of going faster. And people say, well, what about e-bikes? They're allowed. Well, e-bikes have a very specific set of guidelines, and those guidelines must be met. And if they are not, if you have something that is outside of those laws, well, then it's a motorcycle or moped or what have you. Again, same situation. It's a motor vehicle, requires license, ownership, and insurance, but you can't get the license, ownership, and insurance for it, so you are eligible for all sorts of tickets, and we mean thousands of dollars of fines.
Yep. The insurance alone, $5,000 right off the bat. And I've pulled over an awful lot of them, and people go, well, no, it's less than 50 cc, so I'm good.
No.
Nope.
There's a lot of advertising, a lot of claims being made by companies who want to sell you stuff. Some of them are in this country, some of them are in this province. Others are all overseas and just willing to take a mail order kind of situation, and then you build it yourself. Don't get caught with one of these. I pulled a guy over. I shouldn't say I pulled him over. I stopped, got out of my car, waited for him to approach, and then waved him down to explain to him, because I was off duty. I just happened to see this gas-powered bicycle running up the sidewalk, and I thought, maybe he doesn't know. And he said he's been riding it for 2 years, never been pulled over, and didn't know any better. So once he heard what the potential fines were, his eyes grew twice the size. And it's not even that you might get yes, you might get pulled over, you might get a ticket, but what happens if you get hurt? What happens if you hurt somebody else? There are serious consequences. And that's not just a ticket at that point. It's like you could be sued, and everything you've ever owned and ever will own will be somebody else's.
Yep, absolutely.
Serious concerns. Okay, we talked about this, we talked about that. I had a motorcycle plate question earlier from Chase. I'll have to try and find that. Give me a second here as I scroll back. What's your question? Instead of telling me what you had a question that I missed, just tell me the question again. It's harder to find.
Well, no, you're not allowed to spam, so you're not allowed to.
Oh, that's true. He's
the same question multiple times.
This is true. I appreciate.
He's doing the right thing.
He is.
Connor would be all over it.
But he wasn't seeing that because he's direct. Okay, Chase says, I've seen motorcycle riders mount their plate to their backpack. Apparently, it's to keep it from hitting the tire when mounted. Would you stop them for this? It's not mounted to the motorcycle, so yeah. And chances are it also is easy to conceal that way. The vehicle must have the plate affixed to it, and it must be illuminated. Now, granted, during the day it's not an issue, but at nighttime it would have to be illuminated.
And the guys that put that have the bobber-style bikes that have their license plates turned on the side?
Not legal.
Nope, not legal at all. Eligible for 2 tickets.
And and it can't be on either side. It actually has to be at the rear, visible from all angles.
How about tucked behind the rear tire?
That drives me bananas. And people say, well, it's totally visible. I'm like, yeah, if I was a 3-foot tall person standing 6 inches from your bumper, the bumper, but the back of the bike, you cannot see these. And why do people do it? They do it to avoid detection because they're generally up to no good. Some people say, well, it's to avoid contact. Because they're not off-roading with these race bikes.
Well, maybe they're wheeling with the race bikes.
Also illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I would stop them for that. I would stop most people for most things because there's a lot of violations to be. It's just having enough ink in the paper and ink in the pen to write on the paper. It's a lot of writing.
Well, the problem is that's where it starts. You get pulled over because you're not displaying your plate properly, and it can go from there, and it can get worse and worse from there.
Very often, people are concealing identity or doing where it's the 1+1, and they talk about 1+1 when they talk about shooting in self-defense, and saying if you see a bad guy, chances are there's another bad guy. If you see one, there's another one. And I took a concealed weapons course in Florida years ago, and that was or concealed carry permit course. Anyway, they talked about that heavily in that course. The truth is, if there's one violation, there's probably 2 violations. It's a hint. If you're doing one thing wrong, another school of thought is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you break the rules, you generally don't have a healthy respect for the rules.
I'm going to tell you that most people that I've found riding around with the wrong license plates on their car are lazy. They only put 1 screw in to hold the plate in. It's kind of dangling there and all that.
Who puts 1 screw in?
You know what? That's a clue that maybe something is wrong. You haven't properly affixed it. The dealership didn't put it on. You didn't spend the time to put it on properly. Maybe because you're switching them back and forth. Yeah. You know what? That's how you do everything, right? If you do it halfway, then everything may be halfway.
Yeah, it's a hint. It's a clue. We call those clues. We like clues. They help us do our job. I'm going to get off this horse because I can go down this track for a long time. We have...
Nay, say it isn't so.
My wife says, nay. So my wife says, I can tie my shoe, mister. I was slagging people with their master's degrees. My wife has. And I was not referring to you. You tie your shoes just fine. Logan Grant. Oh, this is the wrong button. I wonder if license is the most misspelled word of all time. It's very possible.
Depends where you are.
How about tires? T-Y-R, yeah. Or
that's the English spelling.
Aluminium?
That's just a pronunciation.
Is it the same spelling? Aluminum?
Yep.
Yeah. Hola, amigos. Just a reminder, our tint laws are better than yours. Just saying. Thoughts are with you and the OBP heroes in life, not death.
Thank you.
Well, are they better tint laws? And thank you. Logan is an officer in Alberta. Grant, or Brooks, Alberta. Grant is the name. Brooks is the place. Yeah. It's one of those days. I'm winding down. I'm already getting into vacation.
What makes tint laws better?
Well,
more strict or less strict?
I think he's got 0 tint permitted. Does that make it better? Logan, you got to expand on that statement because now I can't remember what you told me. Let's see here. Jeff McIntyre, is there any? Let me put this on screen. Is there any law against zippering? Why don't people zipper? Are they just bad people? we talking about lane merging using the zipper method? Zipper is the appropriate way to merge. I don't know why anyone does anything but zipper. It drives me, again, bananas when I see an entire merge lane empty and someone at the beginning of it trying to get right in and blocking traffic and creating that overspill onto the other street or wherever you're coming
Or the
in
guy
from.
that runs right to the very end, can't get in, slams on his brakes and comes to a complete stop. Now, the only way he's getting in is if everybody else stops.
Yeah.
How about merge at the same speed as everybody else?
Well, there's that.
Find a spot, signal, wait till there's enough room and move in. Nobody slows, nobody stops.
It would be so easy, but then that also takes that level of decency and neighborhoodly community-ness where the people who are on the highway leave the appropriate amount of space to let somebody on so they can zipper merge instead of fighting.
Somebody's not going to let you in, then find another spot.
It's true, but it would be nice if everyone just played nice in the sandbox. Just saying, because it is. People tend to have to look for other spots to get in or hit the brakes because no one will let them in. And people do that intentionally when you properly go to the end of a merge lane or closer to it because they think this person is just trying to get ahead of me. And they get into this whole squabble about 2 seconds of their day.
Nah, I don't like it when I'm moving along and I've let somebody in already and I see somebody else from behind me, from about 10 cars behind.
Racing.
Well, no, they pull out of my lane that I'm already in.
Oh, that's not cool.
Zip up and trying to get...
Can we charge them for that? What is the charge that we would lay for that? I think that should be a charge that we should focus on.
You know what? It slows down the entire flow of traffic because
it's
people have to hammer on the brakes to let you in. So
it's stupid and it's selfish and it shouldn't be happening. And we should find a good charge. There's no stupid charge, but we should have a stupid charge.
I'm going to let you know that doing that, you self-identify yourself to me, that maybe that's somebody I want to talk to. And the 5 cars that you pass on the way up there, they're going to be at home already by the time I'm done speaking with you, investigating you, your vehicle, and your tires and everything else.
One of my favorite slogans was speeding slows you down, but just annoying a police officer who's in traffic enforcement duty will slow you down. Yes.
Yep. You know what? If you're driving like that, you probably have a vehicle that you maintain like that as well. If you drive selfish, you're probably very selfish with your car. And
how you do one thing is how you do everything.
There you go.
How do people get away with driving with dogs in their arms? They
don't.
They don't if they get caught by the appropriate people. Not everybody understands. Not all cops are created equal. Not everybody understands or takes the time to really delve into the Highway Traffic Act. The people who understand, or people who watch the show, cops included, know that that's careless driving or drive while crowded and absolutely dangerous and unsafe for the animal as much as it is for the person driving, as well as the potential concern for or the potential danger and risk to other drivers because they're not focused on driving; they're having fun with Fluffy.
Yeah, but what happens if something happens to the dog and the dog goes kind of crazy? You're now not able to control your vehicle.
100%.
What happens if somebody pulls out in front of you and you collide? Airbag goes off and Fluffy's dead.
200 mile per hour deployment of an airbag, and you turned it into a foof, like just a puff.
Yeah. I see a lot of dumb things out there. That's one of the dumbest.
It's twofold. It's one because you don't have the ability to say no to your animal. You're going to go in that either tether in the backseat, which is safest, or crate in the backseat. And the inability to say no to Fluffy is really sad.
It's very telling of the type of person you are.
Toughen up. Say no to Fluffy. And say yes to safety, because it really is about safety. If you turn right on a no-turn red, sorry, let me put this bigger text. If you turn right on a no-turn on red, will the red light camera still give you a ticket?
No.
If you came to a stop, the red light camera will not give you a ticket, but you're eligible for the violation of the sign.
Yes.
If you drive and make a right turn on red and do not come to a stop, the red light ticket will likely give you a ticket.
Whether you're allowed to or not.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because you're running a red light.
Right.
People seem to, I don't understand that, and it's an epidemic. People just don't pay attention to the fact that a turn on red still requires a stop first, unless it's signed otherwise. Then you just stop. What do we got? There was a good question from Jeff McIntyre earlier, and it was something to do with noise. And then Zombie has questions about car seat installation. Oh, here we go. How does a neighborhood get increased enforcement of loud pipes. I'm glad you asked. If you're in Toronto and you go to the tps.ca website, there is a section for making reports. One of those is a neighborhood complaint. And it could be driving complaints for running stop signs. It could be loud noise and all sorts of things. But you make those reports there. It's a real police report that gets assigned to real police officers, and then they can determine how to deploy people to respond to it. I will not give you the false sense of or the false belief that if you make that report, you will have 10 officers there morning, noon, and night. It will not. You'll always be prioritized based on things that are happening in our city. Our focus is always going to be on the stuff that leads to serious injury and death. But we also acknowledge that loud pipes is a major problem that terrorizes neighborhoods. So it goes onto the radar. An officer will be made aware of the situation, and if they can be in that area now and again, they will increase their presence to deal with that.
So what we call is a directed patrol. So the supervisor at the start of the shift will give a directed patrol to the officer. When you have downtime, I would like you to spend your time right here and looking for these types of offenses, because it's happening a lot and people have complained about it. So the tough one about loud pipes, it's a fine committing offense. So the officer actually has to be there and hear it and to be able to lay the charge. So it's a bit of a tougher one.
Yeah, but being around helps, and I do like issuing tickets for that, because it's really unfortunate that it's a selfish thing. These loud pipes to sound cool and feel good, but really terrorize neighborhoods. People are sleeping, babies are sleeping, people work, businesses, people are on phone calls from home now. Like it's not okay. I get woken up all the time by loud pipes in my neighborhood. I don't like it. Would police go over car seat installation? I'm having a baby this weekend and I'm out of practice. You're having a baby this weekend, or you're having a baby this weekend, or someone's giving you a baby? Having a baby. I need to. Well, either way, either congratulations or yay, or I don't know. I don't know how to take this, but whatever the appropriate response is, I'll give you that. And then installation. So generally speaking, we used to run car seat clinics here all the time, and we've got that on hold at the moment because we don't have qualified. I think we have to requalify on our certification to do that. But there are great places that do it. They can do it online. They walk you through it. There are other people who will. You can actually arrange to have it inspected. The Child Passenger Safety Association of Canada, cpsac.org. They can help you out there. I used to be a certified installer. I used to do that and check them. We used to actually install them for people, but we actually realized that wasn't helping. We needed to show and then let people install it themselves, because once they left, they wouldn't know what to do. So you often have to take them out of one car, put it into the others. So big things. Hey, we had a question earlier. Maybe you know the answer. It was on when we were on with Jerry this morning. It's a pickup truck towing a dually trailer. He was told he doesn't need a device. It's in relation to a farm.
Pickup truck towing a dually trailer, so like a four-wheel trailer?
A dual axle trailer, yeah.
So just a regular dual axle trailer?
As far as I know.
Or are you talking like a farm wagon trailer?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
That makes a big difference.
Okay.
Dual axle trailer, what device are you talking about? The inspection device?
The inspection device. They were told you don't need it. You don't?
You would.
You would need it.
Yeah. As a commercial motor vehicle, you would need it. The yellow sticker you're talking about?
Yeah, the device, yeah.
Yeah, if it's being towed by a pickup truck and it's a commercial motor vehicle, absolutely.
Okay.
If it is a farm vehicle used for farming use only, and it has the slow-moving vehicle sign and it meets the criteria,
it might be different.
Of that, it may be different.
I suggested he look at somebody other than me because I didn't know the answer. Dale Rosine. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, and I will spend the rest of my day thinking about it. Curious about the legalities surrounding lowering your vehicle on coilovers not slammed. Is coilovers and you might be the right person to ask about this. There's different ways to lower a vehicle. Some people cut springs. That's bad, I think.
Yeah, well, you can install different springs in your vehicle to lower the ride height. That's probably the proper way to do it. You still need some suspension movement. You have to have it. Because the roads are not perfect here, you have to have the ability for the suspension to move, go with the road undulations, holes and all that, and keep contact with the road. If you are just compressing your springs down, there's certain devices in there where you can squeeze your springs down. That stops the effective movement of your springs. Changing your springs, proper way to do it.
Okay. In terms of lowering your vehicle, though, you need to ensure that it's a proper kit or installation, in that you can't lower it so that you have body contact or frame contact when you're going lock to lock, or with the compression of your suspension. So if you make changes to lower it and it's now rubbing, and there's evidence of that, we're going to be looking for that, whether we can replicate it right there, or if we can see history of it. That'll be a problem. That'll be an unsafe vehicle. If your headlights are too low to the ground, there's actually a regulation talking about how high and how low that your headlights can be from the ground. So that could also lead to charges suggesting that you're in violation. I would talk to a trusted mechanic to see if they'd certify your vehicle that way. And flipping back to Zombie, clarification, they are birthing a child this weekend.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yes. And we look forward to much news and celebration after said birthing is done. I will be elsewhere, but I will come back to weeks-old baby and information and news. But yes, definitely some urgency to get that baby bucket installed before traveling with them, because you need to have
absolutely.
it. You need to have that done in advance of being able to take them home from the hospital. So I would contact that organization, CPSAC, sooner rather than later, and see if there's a clinic that can help you out, because you don't need other stress. Let them do it, and we'll talk about fixing it up later.
It sounds like a scheduled event. You know what? Be ready, be early.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me. I know. 5 weeks early.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, you were? Or
no, my son was.
5 weeks. Wow. You think you have plans, and then
Surprise.
Can you legally use your computer as a GPS if it's mounted in the vehicle? It's a good question. You can use a handheld communication device as a GPS if it's mounted and applicable. I don't see why it would be different.
No, it's still a display screen. You can't use it, can't touch it, can't communicate with it. But if you're just using it as a display screen.
So not touching it, just looking at it.
Yep.
Okay.
It'd be a big GPS.
Very effective one. You could use it. So I've seen iPad installations. My goodness, we have 15-inch screens in some vehicles. So yeah, I don't see any issue with that. I live on the corner of an intersection. In the past years, there have been 3 people hit by cars. Is there any steps that can be taken from the traffic services to make it a safer intersection? That sounds like something that needs to have an evaluation done. I'd contact your local, government official, your elected official. You can also, who else would do that? Because we don't generally come out and evaluate things. It's going to be the city.
The city of Toronto, Vision Zero, always gets reports of where collisions are occurring, and make it a priority intersection if people are getting injured there more often than not. Plus, police reports that go to the Ministry of Transportation, they automatically do that to you, do that for you. So if there's an intersection that, and I can think of one right now, that has a high rate of collisions, they will come out and make changes to the intersection, install traffic lights, do whatever they need to do to make it safer.
And I know I've been on calls where they talk about these things in meetings, in group calls. I actually had nothing to lend to that conversation, but I overheard them. And they talk about changing the curb shape to give more coverage and benefit to pedestrians. Like, there's all sorts of things they can do, but they need to be aware of it. So if they haven't already begun a study based on the information from collision reports, certainly talk to your local, is it the MPP, counselor, who one of them?
Yep, depending on the jurisdiction you're in. And traffic services, put in a community complaint about the intersection. That
yes,
obviously, if people are getting hit by cars, then somebody's committing offenses there. That's leading up to this. So we'd be out there and do some enforcement, slow people down.
Okay, here's another one. Here's having more police monitoring roundabouts. Lots of people don't know how to drive in them. We talk about them. In fact, after this live stream, I'm recording a roundabout episode with Turf, because we had some technical difficulties with the last one, but we're doing it again, talking all about the rules of roundabouts and the level of confusion that some drivers that I see is scary. Because roundabouts are the safer, better option.
Oh, love them. Absolutely love them.
And
they are safer as long as everybody knows the rules about them, who has the right of way. And traffic does not have to actually come to a stop. You can continuously flow.
I like it.
Great ideas.
Except for the people who don't understand. Like, it's a game of chicken in certain neighborhoods where you're approaching a roundabout and they're not slowing. And then you have to, while in the roundabout, slow down to accommodate dum-dum who's, It's, I'm reliving trauma right now.
You know what? If you go overseas to countries that have roundabouts, a roundabout could be as small as a painted dot in the middle of the intersection, and people still treat it like a roundabout and know whose right of way it is. It's amazing.
Amazing what happens when you know and understand the way you're supposed to do things. A question for Sarge, or a statement for Sarge. Sarge? Can't speak today. The dually was for transporting his farm tractor to the shop. So this is the follow-up to the trailer device, etc.
Yep. So not in the actual use for farming. Doesn't matter what you're transporting, you're moving a vehicle.
So he needs a sticker.
So absolutely.
Okay, because his weight was going to be over. And I think there's a weight threshold, right? I think there's part of it.
There's weight threshold as well, the commercial use of it. And you know what? The weight threshold may affect his driver's license. May have to have a different class license.
Based on total weight. Jeff High says, coming in June to TO. To TO. I know. Any tips? Never been is it safe? Any advice for driving there or here?
Welcome.
When you get here in June, welcome. Yes, absolutely. We'll be back in June. I'll be back in June. What kind of advice can I give you for driving here? Where are you coming from? What are you used to? It really depends on what your current experience is. If you've never driven anywhere in a city environment, it's going to be an adjustment. A lot of traffic.
There is a lot of traffic. Highway 401, at some point, there's 16 lanes wide and usually packed going both directions. So, get used to that. We're fairly safe. We're one of the safer cities around.
I think that in general, I'm biased. I've been here my entire life. I like it. I feel comfortable here. Other people think that it's too crowded, too busy, and we'll have a different experience. It all based on your perspective, but I think it's a great place to come visit and live. And I hope you enjoy our city when you're here. We have a question. This is an interesting question. How do I de-escalate a situation with an officer that is having a bad day? That is to assume that the treatment you're getting is based on them having a bad day and that there's not other things going on. Being a friendly, happy-go-lucky police officer isn't a requirement. Being professional is. So having someone who speaks to you in a stern way may not be them having a bad day, just may be the way that they communicate. And there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that I would suggest is be polite and follow directions. Like if they tell you that they need the license, ownership, and insurance, and they're going to give you a ticket for something, this is not a place to have an argument.
In Toronto, at least, everything is recorded.
Yes.
We have body cams, we have in-car dash cams. Everything is recorded. So everything that you're doing, everything that the officer's doing. So if you felt like you didn't deserve the ticket and you still got one, there's an avenue for you to dispute that. You can take it to the court, and the court will listen to what the officer has to say and what you have to say, and make a determination on the level of evidence if it is sufficient enough to convict you. The other thing is, if you have a situation where you believe the officer not was wrong in what they were doing, but the way they acted was incorrect, you can make a complaint to the OIPRD, which is an independent police review. The OIPRD is the Independent Police Review Directorate, and they will investigate it for you.
And at the end of the day, no one wants you to feel mistreated, but and that's why I started with it. There's a difference between having a bad day and taking it out on you and being rude and unprofessional, and we're just not being super friendly because it's different personalities in this uniform.
Yep. You know what? When I'm out there, I got a job to do. You may not like it, still got a job to do.
And in terms of navigating that interaction, very often we're just looking for someone who doesn't say, what frustrated me when I was on the road were conversations like, I pulled you over because I saw you using your cell phone. I wasn't using my cell phone, officer. Okay, but I watched you use your cell phone. Well, I wasn't using the denial. You don't have to say and admit that you were doing it, but don't argue with us about it. If you don't think that you were doing it, you have an avenue in court, like the sergeant said. But that tends to escalate things. You get into a back and forth, and it's not going to go very well because you're still going to get a ticket. Okay, we talked about this. We talked about that. Okay. Does Toronto Police do ride-alongs? We actually talked about that, I think, yesterday.
We did.
And the answer is, you can request to do one, and that doesn't mean you'll get approved. Very often it's students or people who want to become police officers, journalists, things of those nature, or people with that reason tend to get approved. For a long time it wasn't happening because of COVID, but I believe it's back in action, and you could go for a ride-along in a non-emergency situation with a sergeant. So you can't go with someone going to actual calls because we can't put you at risk. So that's a thing. How do I report someone who's got a suspended license? The answer to that is you can call it in, make a report. You could make an electronic report. You could go and call 1-800-222-TIPS for an anonymous way of making the report. And that's it's obviously a serious concern if someone's driving without a license or suspended for that matter. So
yeah, absolutely,
it's worthy. The issue is very often you're telling someone that you're reporting someone who you know and you may even care about, but you need to protect the relationship. So the anonymous version may be the best way. And Crime Stoppers is a great organization that allows people to do that. Okay. Who do I call? Oh, this is interesting, and I don't know if I have an answer. Who do I call if I see someone dumping garbage off at the side of the road, like large bags of garbage? Is that side of the road? Is the city, you've got the information of the plate, who would you call? Would you just make a general?
Depends where you are. If it's a bylaw offense, you could do 301. You could call the police as well. Because it's an offense. Mm-hmm. Either way, it doesn't matter what law it is. The appropriate person would be dispatched if you made the complaint through the non-emergency police line.
416-808-2222 is our number. Can younger children 4 to 5 years ride in a classic car that is exempt from seatbelts? Can they? Should they? Two different questions.
Can they?
Well, yes, because there's an exemption. And look, you look at taxi cabs. Taxis and buses don't require children to be in child restraints or wear seatbelts because that's the way they are. They're exempt. Different than Ubers. Ubers do not have that exemption. But if you think about it, the reason that seatbelts were put into play and the reason that children 4 and 5 years old need to be in child restraints is because there's serious risk to injury to their safety and protection of their life, in the event of a collision. So is it a good idea? No, it's not ideal. But is it lawful? Yes. We talked about this already. I have no questions because you guys in Toronto, Ontario, not London, Ontario. But we're the same laws. It's all across the province of Ontario. So if you have an Ontario-related HDA question that is not city-specific to bylaw, we can generally answer your questions. Let's see here. Big GGGG has a question. So what charge is given when an exhaust is too loud or has no muffler? Well, that's two different situations. Three? What's the other one?
No muffler.
Well, so where's the second?
Unnecessary noise.
Yeah.
Improper exhaust.
Okay.
No muffler.
There you go. I was only thinking about the fact that the exhaust was going to be the noise.
Yep.
Improper, yeah, second. And no muffler. Would you double dip? Would you do the no muffler and improper?
It depends. Depends what had happened to the... If you just took out your muffler, then you would just do no muffler.
Okay.
But if you modified your exhaust in a way that it was improper...
There you go. Okay, so there's
we talked about exhaust coming out the side of vehicles,
right,
and things like that. So you can modify it, take out the muffler, and do a bunch of different things that you could get a couple of different.
So you probably wouldn't lay 3 charges. You probably lay 2, but it would give you the option of 3, depending. Okay, it's good. The $110 for unnecessary noise. I think the muffler's the same cost.
Yep, improper mufflers or no mufflers.
Okay, my car got totaled. That's not fun. By a 17-year-old in their driveway. Was a H&R?
It was a hit and run.
Oh, hit and run. There you go. I should know that. Police on site, but the driver came to us the next day. What charges can be laid as he didn't go to the collision center for more than 72 hours? Assuming, well, it's a fail to remain, so there's a number of charges that it could be. They were obligated to report. Did they eventually report?
Fail to remain, fail to report, careless driving. A whole bunch.
A whole whack of stuff. the fact that they did the 72 hours, I mean, that's we've gone beyond the 72 hours. If they caused, you're saying totaled, so there's probably a lot going on there. The fact that they came is actually very nice to hear, that they actually came and admitted it to you that they took responsibility. I'm assuming took responsibility and exchanged information. At very least, if no police had shown up for the collisions, so then you were able to provide the information. There's a whole bunch of stuff that could go, as the search said, a whole bunch of charges. I now want to know more. I want to see video. I'm curious. I hope that nobody was injured in that, from the sounds of your description, and they weren't, just because you didn't say they were. It's not fun, though. Have you ever had anything in your driveway destroyed based on someone driving? I had years ago, many years ago. I was 10. We had 2 different cars on 2 different occasions drive into our home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, not drive into the home, but hit the veranda and like smash the front of the house. That was exciting.
Nope, never done that.
What number should I call if it's a non-emergency situation? 416-808-2222 if you're in the city of Toronto looking to contact Toronto Police for non-emergency. Motorcycle lane filtering. Can a motorcycle move to the front of traffic at a traffic light? Legally, no. Legally, there's nothing allowing you to do that. Motor vehicles are specifically stated. Bicycles, I was actually disappointed to find out that there's nothing preventing them from doing it.
Driving up the right, passing on the right of the roadway.
Yeah, I was hoping there would be something there, because I was under the impression that there was no reason they should be doing that. But
I agree.
there's things that I think should be updated to be like inclusive of everybody, like cell phones. I think that you should not be able to use a cell phone on a bicycle. And yet the handheld communication device charges are specifically motor vehicle only, which is disappointing. Because I see people, I think walking and using a cell phone should be illegal, as a matter of fact. Apparently, I think there should be laws for everything. 11 o'clock dad joke time. Wanted, dad joke. Wanted, a man has been spotted stealing wheels off police cars. Police have been working tirelessly to catch him. Thank you very much for the
I like it.
That's actually fantastic. Not a joke. Champs Adventure wants to know, what is the law on flagpoles on vehicles? So it depends on securement to the vehicle. If it is properly and safely secured, the president who runs flags, or the diplomats have properly affixed flagpoles on their vehicles. Mind you, they're small flags. There's no risk of those being removed, and if they would be responsible for those.
Yep, and the flag must not obstruct the view in any way.
Yes, which is a problem for we've seen like giant monster truck flags on backup pickup trucks. If that flag is flopping and is covering windows and creating an inability for a driver to see, it's creating a safety hazard. That's an entirely different situation. Let's see here. Oops. Oh, this is follow up on the car being totaled. I hadn't made my first car payment yet. It was my parents' car who were on vacation. The kid wasn't on registration or insurance. He went over my neighbor's driveway, over mine, and into my car. Your brand new wheels. Oh, that's sad.
I would be angry. And
if it was a brand new car that you were making your first payment on, fortunately they give you the like for like you get the same vehicle. That is sad. Very sorry to hear that. Glad again that you're okay. I don't know if I like this. Why did the police officer smell bad? Because he was on duty.
I like it.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. That was good. May 15th, that was yesterday. Oh, I didn't read this. What kind of people never get angry? Nomads.
Okay.
It's not bad. This one is likely bad. An executive at Honda was told that she either needed to resign her position or she would be fired. She decided to leave of her own accord.
Normally, I like car jokes.
Well, yeah. Now, I'm not here for the rest of the week. Do we get rid of this deck?
What if I'm going to be here?
This is true. Are you going to be here?
We'll see.
Okay. We'll leave it. And worst case scenario, we'll catch up when I get back. Is it a good one?
Actually, yeah. Say that one.
Okay.
That one's pretty good.
My wife told me I would never advance in my career because I procrastinate so much. Just you wait, I said. You like that one?
I like that one. That's not bad.
Okay, now I got to do this one. I want to hear 99 Men sing Africa by Toto. It's something that 100 men or more could never do. That's
you got to be from the 80s to understand
yes,
that one.
in terms of, yes, I age myself with this. This is also good. What's the best way to catch a fish? Have someone throw it to you. I like that. All right, we'll leave that. We'll stop there. And Zombie even says that one. Zombie, which one was good? Because there was now a run on them and I wasn't paying attention. But we'll take that. We'll even put that credit on the screen. The 99 Men one. Yes, thank you. Okay, good.
Yeah.
We can be friends. We can't. What is this? Why can't a nose be 12 inches long? Because then it would be a foot.
Now that one I like.
Yes, that's
Logan,
right.
I like it.
It's right up your alley.
Yeah.
Yes, and the Grinch also likes the we're appreciating the 80s. All right.
Did you know that the company making yardsticks is not making them any longer?
I had heard that.
Screwed that.
I thought it was 12-inch rulers.
Not making them any longer.
That's good. I like that one. That's an old one, but I like it. That is it. That is
That's
all. I think. Ajmal has his beep or has their beep test tomorrow. Any tips? Any tips I have for beep test are not going to help you today. If you had months to train, then I have a technique for the beep test because that is the one thing I hated more than anything else.
When you decide that you cannot do it anymore,
do it more.
Do one more.
Well, and that's the whole thing. So when I had an injury at the police college, and I
you get injured a lot.
I get injured a lot. It was a minor injury, but it was an injury, and because of that injury, I couldn't do the fit pin test the day that they were doing it. So I actually came back from the police college, and I had time to recover, and then I was able to do the test. And I had decided that the only way I was going to fail is if I was taken out by ambulance. There was no quit possible. There was no way that I was not graduating with my class because it was this or you don't graduate. There was no way I wasn't going to pass. And it was actually really cool. My entire class came in to cheer myself and another officer on. I think it was to cheer. It wasn't to gloat and hope that we failed. It's up in the air. But It was one of those things where there was no option but to pass. So that's the thing. It's all mental. You can do it. Just don't give up. Don't listen to yourself. You don't know what you're talking about. If you're saying quit, you don't know. It's lying to you. The body's lying to you. And Logan says, don't give up. Just go until you puke. And puking is an option after. Very slippery if you puke during.
Yes. Yep.
Dad joke. Why did you park here? The sign says, fine for parking.
Yeah.
We have to say it's half and half, 50-50. I'm going to share that with Erin Urquhart, who's our resident parking guru. She may like it more. I'm not a parking person. Maybe you have to be more, but it's still good. Okay, beep test.
Right.
Especially at the start. What's this? I'm just checking to see if we missed anything. We are done.
We're done.
And it's a traffic song to say goodbye. I'm going to miss everybody. We will see you on June 5th when I come back. Have a great day. Drive safe. Drive sober. Pausing. Drive safe. Drive sober. Park legally. Be good. We'll see you soon. Or not so soon.
I may see you soon.
Yeah, we're going to have to do some quick training. Okay. Take care, everybody.
Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. both ways, then go. Seatbelt save your life indeed, and watch your driving. Don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Until June